Happy Tuesday to everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. So much to get to here. A Brock Purdy injury update, Ricky Pearsall injury news, more Niners injury news, big trade news for San Francisco. And look, at this point, a move has to be made because we also just got some breaking news as the Niners lost a player to another team who they've been counting on over the last couple of weeks. Before we get to all of that, don't forget to subscribe for daily Niners content. We're 392 people away from 179,000 subscribers. If you want Niners shows that are insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice, join the movement today. Let's begin with the latest around Brock Purdy. So Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network said the other day that Purdy this week in practice is going to get serious reps going into Week 9 as the Niners are on the road to play the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. Yesterday, Kyle Shanahan spoke and said there is a chance that Purdy could play. Probably a slim chance, but a chance that he could play. I do feel like we've all been in limbo over the last couple of weeks because Purdy has literally been day-to-day over the last couple of weeks. A big check-in for Purdy is going to occur on Wednesday at practice. The Niners are going to gauge how healthy he is and if he's going to be able to play in this Sunday game against New York. Now, as we know, Purdy was injured in Week 1 on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. He got flushed from the pocket, ran to his left, got tackled from behind, his big toe bent beneath him, and that's when he suffered that turf toe injury. Now, he still was able to finish the game, had that game-winning drive in which the Niners matriculated right down the field. He went 6 of 6, threw that game-winning touchdown to Jake Tunchus, and then next day it came out that he has that turf toe injury. Sat out Week 2 against the Saints. Sat out Week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals. Came back in Week 4 to play in that game against Jacksonville. Wasn't right. Couldn't plant on that foot. Couldn't really drive with this lower half. That left a lot of balls high. It led to overthrows, mistakes, turnovers, and interceptions. And over the last couple of weeks, Purdy has been to a point where he's been a limited participant. The issue with this turf toe injury is that it does have a high risk of re-aggravation. There are also different levels to it. Purdy had his injury that he then got re-injured with against Jacksonville. He made it worse. I thought he should have stayed out of that game. And then Joe Burrow had to get surgery on his turf toe. He's out until December because that was more of the severe variety. What's of note for the Niners moving forward, I mentioned it at the start of the show. San Francisco on the road to play the Giants on Sunday. It is going to be another early West Coast game for San Francisco. Hopefully they don't sleepwalk through it like they did against the Houston Texans because that was embarrassing. But as we know, an infamously bad turf surface at MetLife in which a lot of injuries happen. Purdy suffered the turf toe injury on the road against the Seahawks playing on turf. And so if Purdy doesn't play on this surface, wouldn't surprise me. But then in Week 10, the Niners return home after a 2-game road trip in Houston, in New Jersey, to play the Rams at Levi Stadium. The Niners have one of the best grass surfaces, in the National Football League. And obviously a grass surface, a natural surface, has more give compared to field turf. And so this could be the game against the Rams in Week 10 when Purdy makes his return. Plus, obviously, it gives him another week to try to get that toe in a spot where he can actually play. Where Purdy will really help this offense moving forward, I think, is with his mobility. Whenever he does return, hopefully he returns to a point health-wise where he can run around, where he can create out of structure, where he can buy time in the pocket, where he can improvise, where he can be creative behind the line of scrimmage with finding ways to make plays once the pass rush nearly gets home, where he can break contain, keep his eyes downfield, and either throw it or obviously run with the football. Because Purdy's mobility, his athleticism, his foot quickness can help to bail out this Niners offensive line, which has been bad. And against really good defenses this year, this Niners offensive line, has been exposed against good defensive lines because Mac Jones cannot move. He's immobile. He's a statue back there. Whereas Purdy can do better of being able to create plays and improvise out of structure. So if I had my guess would be that Mac Jones will start again against the New York Giants. What's also of note, the odds makers in Vegas, they still like San Francisco in this game. The 49ers are 2.5-point favorites against a Giants team that has 2 wins this year. As for Ricky Pearsall, he will be evaluated also further on Wednesday. According to some buzz out there, he's had this minor PCL injury, but even a grade 1 PCL injury can hold a player out for about a month. And what the PCL does is really lead to a lot of stability in the knee. For a player who is quick, has good footwork, is a pristine route runner, and plays wide receiver where there's a lot of change of direction, then he has to be in a stable spot. And that's why Pearsall hasn't been able to play for the last few weeks. And this 49ers passing game has really missed him. There really hasn't been any of explosiveness without Ricky Pearsall. You have Kendrick Bourne, who's been the number 1 wideout, but he's by no means an explosive player. And outside of that, you really haven't had a lot of good options at the wide receiver spot. Demarcus Robinson suspended the first 3 games of the year because of that DUI arrest. He's done nothing since coming back. Jordan Watkins finally actually saw the field against Houston. The one opportunity he had to make a play on the football, he dropped it. It hasn't helped this Niners passing game that Jauan Jennings has been awful this season. As far as his production, as far as his play, as far as his drops, as far as his attitude. And it's really unfortunate. He's clearly been unhappy with his contract situation. The Niners gave him a new deal in which they gave him more money last year. And Jauan Jennings wants to prove after 1 good year that he should be making, I don't know, a lot more cash. How about you produce more than 1 season? And if you want a bag, how about you earn it? But this year, he hasn't been able to earn it because the play has been subpar. The attitude has been atrocious. And it's unfortunate because he had become a fan favorite among the faithful, among the Niner gang, because of how he plays, how hard, how physical, the swagger and the confidence that he plays with, the effort, the blocking. All of that has really gone out of the window. And how he's acted, very reminiscent of how Brandon Ayuk has acted in wanting a new deal and how Deebo Samuel acted in wanting a new deal. Bad teammate right there. And I said last week, Niners should bench him. As for Ricky Pearsall, what a great year he was off to. And he got hurt against Jacksonville in week 4, so he's only played 3+ games this season. In those 3+ games, 20 catches, 327 yards, 16.4 yards per catch. He had been a top 10 receiver as far as production going into week 4. More injury news for San Francisco. Bryce Huff also not expected to play on Sunday. Not much of a surprise there, but we did get confirmation on that. He hurt his hamstring against Atlanta, and the Niners have said he's going to be out at least 2 games, but he's not going to be able to play. Against New York, there is a sign of him maybe being able to play against the Rams, and the Niners defense will need him because if you can't generate pressure on Matthew Stafford, he will pick apart this defense all day like C.J. Stroud did on Sunday. And what an acquisition Huff has been. Let's hope that he can get back right soon. Overall PFF grade of 82.3, pass rush grade 81.4, solid against the run, numbers in the green there at 65.7, 19 pressures, 4 sacks, 15 hurries, 9 stops on 135 pass rushing snaps. And to throw salt in the wound, how about this news? This is the breaking news that we got right before recording this show. Mike Kay, who covers the Carolina Panthers, breaking the news that the Panthers are signing pass rusher Travis Gibson off the Niners practice squad per a league source. The team will need to make a corresponding roster move for the deal to be official. So the Panthers are poaching him off the Niners practice squad, adding him to the active roster. This is bad roster mismanagement for San Francisco. They could have put Brock Purdy on injured reserve because that would have made him miss 4 games, which he's already going to miss, right? And that could have allowed the Niners to have Travis Gibson on the 53. He was the number 2 pass rusher for San Francisco against Houston. He played 39 snaps against the Texans, 17 against Atlanta, 16 against Tampa Bay, 8 against the Rams, and had a fumble recovery in that game. It's to a point where the Niners need to make a move. And if San Francisco does not make a move, they are waving the white flag and surrendering for the 2025 season. That's not fair to the Niners roster. That's not fair to this fan base at 5-3 in a wide open NFC. But the Niners right now, going into Sunday's game against the Giants, if they don't make another move, have 2 healthy defensive ends on the 53-man roster. And this is after they pressured C.J. Stroud only 10 times and had 0 sacks against Houston on Sunday, as C.J. Stroud was able to pick apart this team because the Niners could not generate a pass rush. John Lynch, you got to make a move. Now, coming up next, big trade news that impacts the 49ers across the NFL. Could a move include this player? We'll get into that here in just a moment. But let's get to our sponsor. This episode of the 49ers Report is brought to you by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, it never gets old. So keep the same season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks, available all across America. Join the movement. America's #1 fantasy sports app. Millions of users have already signed up, so sign up today. PrizePicks is also the only app that offers stacks. You can now pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Christian McCaffrey's rush yards, receiving yards, and touchdowns? You can do that. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app. 3-pick power play for Sunday's game against the G-Men. Christian McCaffrey, more than 45.5 receiving yards. George Kittle, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. And Jackson Dart, more than a half passing touchdown. So here's the deal. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. So Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, with this news this morning. Another name to watch on the trade front, Giants edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's under contract for another year after this year, but some around the league have wondered whether he's part of New York's long-term plans and if he could become available for the Giants at 2-6. Teams are actively exploring the pass rush trade market, but movement has been slow, in part because there are so many available options. So Jordan Schultz reported that. Then Mike Garafolo reported this. Conflicting reports. 2 insiders with the Spider-Man meme right now spoke to a few teams that reached out to the Giants on Kayvon Thibodeaux. They've been told there's no interest in trading him, sources say. Thibodeaux is under contract through next year after the team picked up his 5th-year option, and they intend on having him in 2026. Now, those of you who watch the show, you know I've been saying this for a couple of weeks here, that this is a player who I would really like for the 49ers to target. He's young. He's under contract next year. I don't think you need to break the bank for him, even though he was a former first-round pick who has been productive in his career. And I think that he would be a great scheme fit for San Francisco. 2.5 sacks this year, 9 quarterback hits, 5 TFLs on 405 snaps. The thing, too, with the Giants, you're 2-6. You have no plans to really extend him beyond next year, I would imagine. If a team is willing to give up a 3rd-round pick, you've got a lot of needs on that roster, especially at wide receiver, running back question marks now because Cam Scatterbo suffered that ugly injury. You need to improve your secondary. Wouldn't it make sense to maybe get some picks back for Kayvon Thibodeaux if he's not in your long-term plans when you already have Abdul Carter and Brian Burns on your team? Look, the Niners are in a spot right now where they have 2 edge rushers available on the 53-man roster who are healthy and able to play against the Giants. You have no pass rushing rotation because you only have starters, 2 of them who can play. San Francisco, bad roster mismanagement. You're 5-3. The NFC is up for grabs. You can compete in this conference if you target a pass rusher. At this point, maybe pass rushers. You owe it to the fan base. You owe it to the team. You owe it to yourselves. And a pass rusher or pass rushers makes the rest of the defense better. And it fixes so many holes that you have with this team right now. Make a move. Damn. Give me a follow on X or Instagram at Chase_Senior. Niners content here, Niners content over there.